another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History coming to you live again tonight. Boy, we're going non-stop and the information just keeps coming. So I've been having a continuous run since, well, what are we talking about? Probably since June, and it's been very interesting. I've learned a lot myself, and it's kind of kept me from doing as much writing as I'd like, but I just don't have enough time to do everything that I want to do. But I do want to bring this commentary to you tonight. So this is the February 17th, 2026 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. So I'm going to wait about 1 minute and then allow people to get in. And feel free, if you're listening, you just picked up the broadcast, let me know where you're listening from. That's always entertaining for me. And I may have some information. I may come down your street. How about that? So anyway, we want to jump right in and get going. It's 1:04 right now. So let's get started, okay? So we're going to go back to February 17th, 1921, when the Los Angeles Evening Post Los Angeles Evening Post record published batting averages for the Giants. That's the Los Angeles Giants, who played at the White Sox Park in Los Angeles. All of the leading hitters were former members of the 1920 Kansas City Monarchs, except for one of them. And I'm going to see if you guys can name the one. All right. So here we go with these batting averages. First of all, you had Wilbur Bullet Rogan batting 370, and this is through 32 games, right? Batting 370. And then you had Walter Doby Moore batting 360. Of course, we have George Carr batting 366. They're running neck and head in here. And then you had Hurley McNair batting 275. And then you have another guy, and I don't know where his name went, but okay, his name was Bob Fagan. And Bob Fagan was also batting at a 353 clip. And of course, we're going to round it out with Otto J. Bird Ray, who was batting 274. Now, can you tell me which one of those guys did not play for the Kansas City Monarchs in 1920? Okay, we have any baseball people here who can really respond to that quickly? Hey, how about this? If you pick up the broadcast later on, challenge yourself to see how much you know about the Negro Leagues, how much you learned from me listening to these names of these players. So there's one person that did not play for the 1920 Kansas City Monarchs. All right, you ready for that one? I'm going to give it to you. It was Bob Fagan. Bob Fagan joined the Kansas City Monarchs in 1921, not 1920. So, but guys, all of these guys, except for two of them, Otto J. Bird Ray and Hurley McNair. And Hurley McNair was used to a 300 hitter, so I don't know, maybe he was hitting the ball and they were just catching it, but that guy was such a great hitter. Hurley McNair came out of Marshall, Texas. And there's a place on Prospect Avenue where Hurley McNair was last living, and the building is still there. So if I ever get a chance to go into that neighborhood, New Joseph lived close by, and Frank Duncan lived close by, Satchel Paige lived close by. Maybe I will just do it live from all those different places and basically clue you into some things maybe you don't know about just by listening to these broadcasts. And when people come to Kansas City, they generally go down and do a live down at the Negro Leagues Museum. They miss all the other attractions because they don't know the addresses. Most people haven't dug that deeply, and it's kind of like going to Cooperstown and never looking at Doubleday Park, right? I'm sure somebody's done that before. Just go to the museum, and maybe they don't even go to the shops. Just go to the museum and go home. But anyway, there's always a lot more to see in every city. So anyway, guys, if you're listening here, you want to participate, feel free to let me know where you're joining from, all right? Okay, so we're going to go to another fact. This is going to be February 17th, 1930. So Otto Bowden, catcher for the 1910 Oklahoma Monarchs and other outstanding baseball teams, died in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, what's interesting is how some of these guys, they came from other places, but they weren't born and died typically in the same place. They would move around, especially for ball players coming from the South. They didn't go back to the South. They would come to the Midwest, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, um, Cleveland, Chicago. Did I say St. Louis? And they would never go back. And so Otto Bowden came here. He played for the Kansas City, Kansas Giants after playing down in Oklahoma. And I think he was originally from Memphis, if I'm correct. Anyway, long story short, he ended up passing away here in Kansas City. And somewhere in his house, I do have his death certificate. So that was Otto Bowden. Yeah, and you think about this, guys. How many people can you name that have the Bowden name that were connected to black baseball? I can think of two right off the bat. So I'm getting you guys to really think about what we're talking about tonight. Well, we know we have Otto Bowden, right? And then we have the guy who was the owner of the Hilldale team, Ed Bowden. All right. So those are two Bowden. How about this? How many guys in the Negro Leagues do you know had the first name Otto? That's a very German name. So how many Ottos can you name? All right. Anybody in here want to try to take a shot at it? Okay. That played in the Negro Leagues? All right. So we know that we have one here. We know we have Otto Bowden, right? And I was thinking about a guy who named Otto Mitchell, who played for the Birmingham Black Barons. And of course, I mentioned one earlier, Otto J. Bird Ray. Interesting thing, years ago, I got a copy of Only the Ball Was White. And in that first edition, they listed ball players in the back. And one of the players they had was Ray, playing for the Monarchs as a catcher in 1920. However, they didn't have his first name. And so since I had connections to Lexington, and then also I met people who actually knew J. Bird Ray, he, after baseball, he ended up being a detective here in Kansas City. And he ended up moving up to Plattsburgh, up around Liberty, passed away at the military hospital, if I'm correct. And he is buried in Leavenworth, Kansas. But yeah, he was a detective here in Kansas City. And so actually, and you know what? His sister was a Catholic nun on top of that. So these are all kind of things, guys. You won't get this information anywhere. You know how hard you would have to dig to get this kind of information? And I'm making it available to you for nothing. Just imagine that. I have so much in my head from all of these interviews and people I've met over the years. I can just give information away and still have more left, right? And I'm still writing books, still doing research, but I can connect dots in a way that most people cannot. And so Otto J. Bird Ray from Lexington, Missouri, buried in Leavenworth, Kansas, because he was a member of the Bearcats in World War I, the baseball team, and Bill Drake was a member of that team when he was in the military, the Bearcats. And there was a guy named Pelham McDaniel. He played he was a lineman for the Chiefs, and he was became a college professor. And I spoke at his class several times, and he had done this wonderful research on the Bearcats baseball team. And it was published, but I haven't been able to find out where it was published since I saw it way back. And of course, Pelham did another book on Isaac Murphy, the great Kentucky Derby horse guy, who raced horses. And unfortunately, we lost Pelham way too early. And I think at that time he was at Emory State, and he was a professor down there. Pelham McDaniel. Look him up. Played professional football, but he was quite the academic too. So these are people I've had the pleasure of meeting along the way, and I'm just glad to say that I'm still here, right? Somebody said, wasn't he good friends with Detective Kojak? No, but you know what? Can you name anybody else who was a detective in the Negro Leagues? Think about that one. I can think about a Major League Baseball player who was my first coach. He was Sherman Roadblock Jones. I'm trying to plug up my computer. Sherman Roadblock Jones, who played for the 1962 Mets. He was a detective here in Kansas City, and he was my first baseball coach. And I tell you what, you wouldn't want to get in trouble on this team, man, because he would set you straight. When you have a detective, a police officer, somebody who is your coach, man, I'm telling you, you gotta stay right on target, right? So anyway, yeah, so I understand. We're just having some fun here. So anyway, guys, if you're joining, Let me know where you're joining from, what city you're joining from, right? Okay, so I've just got a few more. Let me go to the next one. February 17th, 1934. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, but he was quite the slugger. But he didn't have a whole lot of big league home runs. But it was outfielder Willie Charles Kirkland. He was born in Alabama. Let me see if I can say Siluria, Siluria, Alabama. And his family soon left and moved to Detroit. You see, we talked about the Great Migration quite a bit here and how guys would just leave the South and never go back. And in 1961, he homered 3 times in a game versus the Chicago White Sox. And that was quite a feat. Guys, I don't know if you know that the ball is juiced up today. Do you know that? And I'll tell you how I know it. I coached for about 35 years. And so one time, my son and I, we went out to Royal Stadium. And of course, in that, this is during the period of Kansas City Royals. They weren't winning very much. So you could get a ticket and basically sit right down the right field line. So anyway, we got there early. The Chicago White Sox, they had some really good power hitters, and they were hitting lots of balls in the stands. And so we left there with about 8 or 9 baseballs. So we had so many that when we went to practice the next day, I just threw them in the bag with the rest of our baseballs that we used in our league. And so I went out and I was hitting fly balls, and I grabbed one of those major league baseballs and I hit it, man. It went about 20 more yards further than our ball. I said, give me one of our balls. And I hit it again, and it didn't go as far. I said, give me one of those major league balls. I hit it again, and it went about 20 yards. I said, man, these balls are juiced up. And, I don't know how you actually juice the ball up. I don't know if you bound it tighter or whatever, but I can tell you just from being a coach and hitting fly balls to the outfield, I could tell that the major league balls were juiced up. So our balls weren't going nearly as fast as that, and we had some kind of league regulation ball. And we were in a wood bat league, so we were using wood bats, and I could tell you, and then every once in a while, just to have fun, because people would be hitting golf balls on the same field that we practice on. I pick up one of those golf balls, man, just hit that thing out of sight. So it was always fun to find a golf ball and just knock it out of the world, right? So anyway, maybe you've coached, maybe you've done some of these things too. I don't know. I'm surely not the only person who ever experienced this, right? So somebody says. He said, there's been some pro athletes that were good musicians. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I think in the Negro League vein, I think about a guy named Conti. You wouldn't know him unless you've been following my broadcast. He was from Kansas City. He also played the trombone, and his parents owned a funeral parlor. So they nicknamed him Dead Man. But he was quite the trombone player. Went to Kansas University. And I tell you, a guy's son, Dick Whitworth's son, Roger Whitworth. Roger Whitworth was quite an athlete at Kansas University, but he also played in the band. So I'm trying to think, of course, what's his name that was with the Yankees? He played guitar really well. And, I can't think of his name right now. Help me out, somebody. Come on now. Help me out. And of course, I will tell you this, that growing up, of course, I played baseball, played on the high school team, played in the community and things like that. And Bernie Williams, thank you, somebody. So, I was the drum major as well as I played on the baseball team and the football team. How about that? So, and I still play trumpet. If you want to hear me play trumpet, go back and go through some of my shorts there, and you will see me playing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. But occasionally, I will go out and play the national anthem. Hopefully, I will do a little bit more of that, maybe if not this year, next year, when I have a little more time. I'm into some special projects right now. So who were the good singers? Well, Mudcat Grant was one. And then I'm trying to think of his name. He had a doo-wop group. Shucks. Wayman Tisdale, right? He didn't play baseball as far as I know, but he certainly played basketball and was a good musician. Ted Strong was one. I didn't know Ted Strong ever sang. Now, that's a good one on me. I didn't know that. I do know a player that I talked about yesterday. That was William Kelly. I did a special on him. And of course, he was a singer. Now, I will tell you this, that many times back at the turn of the century, I know the Chicago Union Giants, they had a quartet. So when they would go into town and they'd be playing, these small towns or whatever, they'd have the ball players and they formed a quartet and they would sing, at different places around the community. And so people in booking them, they wanted to hear that quartet too. So hey, yeah, no, music and entertainment is definitely a part of the whole baseball experience, right? And the sporting experience, because a lot of individuals participated in the arts. We'll just say that, right? And even Kirk Flood was a great artist. And then I'm trying to think who might have been a great dancer. Well, I think you had Emmitt Smith. Didn't he win Dancing with the Stars? So hey, I'm getting way off track, but yeah, you're just making me go down memory lane, just exploring my mind, seeing what I remember. So boy, you really challenged me tonight. Who is this? I mean, it's Bob. Is this Bob? Shoot, I see somebody named Luce Skunt. Shooting some of these questions at me along with Bob. So I appreciate that. See my baseball 1950s against the all black team, but okay. Yeah, yeah. Bill Weathers played baseball. Hey, that didn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me at all. I know I played in a band in high school, and two of those guys I had played baseball with growing up. So and actually a third one he was a trumpet player who played. We had two trumpets, and he was the trumpet player. He was playing first trumpet. I was playing second trumpet and doing a lot of the singing. And I would tell, yeah, Charlie Pride is good, definitely one. And so I was doing a lot of the singing, but he was a left-hander, and he had played baseball in Kansas City as well. But he was a good trumpet player, man. He traveled on the road with Bobby Blue Bland and Little Milton. You probably anybody know about blues out here? Bobby Blue Bland. Most people would know about Bobby Blue Bland. I don't know about Little Milton, but right, okay, all right then. Hey, wow, that doesn't surprise me. I'm gonna have to look that one up. All right, because that sounds interesting. Let me go back so we've got the okay. I got one more thing to say about Kirkland. Okay, he was a former military vet, right? But he slammed 40 home runs with the Western League Sioux City Sioux in 1955. 40 home runs. And guys, back then a home run wasn't the juiced up ball. It was legitimate home runs that these guys were hitting. So, but we've seen some periods in baseball here where guys who don't typically hit home runs. I forget what year it was in the 90s. Man, the ball was so juiced up. You had people hitting the highest number of home runs they ever achieved in their career, right in that little period, and then it went back to normal. But people like Barry Bonds, they were just crushing the ball, and because they were going to hit home runs anyway. So you juice up the baseball, what do you think you get? All right. Okay, so I have one more, but we're talking about guys who were doing different things, and you dropped some good names, Charlie Pride and Bill Withers. Man, I could think of some good songs that they had. So anyway, I remember my parents, they used to listen to the country station, WDAF in Kansas City when I was in high school. And I used to get up every morning and I would hear Charlie Rich. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? Man, I think I know all the words. And of course, Charlie Pride had a kiss an angel, good morning. Love her like the devil till she gets back home. Right. So all right, so you're taking me way back. I don't mean to go that back with that. I was trying to go back with baseball, but guys, you keep me engaged and get me talking and remembering things that I don't typically talk about. Okay, so I have one more, and this is a baseball player who played basketball, and this is February 17th, 1947. Sweetwater Clifton dropped 21 points in a Dayton Metropolitan's 52-51 victory over the Evansville Rockets in Carmine, Illinois, before a crowd of 400. That's a small crowd, but it sounded like it was a great game, 52-51. And over the years, I learned a whole lot about Dayton. Of course, he was playing for the Dayton Metropolitans, which was, remember, Elwood Parsons, the promoter there, who I always talk about Elwood because I went to Dayton and I talk about, going to the restaurant with Elwood. But Elwood was a very interesting person. And unfortunately, I didn't record our interview or any interviews that I had with him, but I did take great notes. And he's a person that most people did not talk to, but he was the main source bringing in basketball and baseball in the late 40s and early 50s into Dayton, Ohio. All right, so you want to look his name up. You will find some interesting things related to him, but you won't find many people who interviewed him besides myself. So these are people that I'm really proud that I interviewed. So anyway, Sweetwater Clifton, I interviewed him, and he was driving a cab in Chicago when I interviewed him, and of course he's passed away now. But a lot of my information related to Dayton, Ohio, came from two people, and one of them was Chester Blanchard. He played for the 1926 Dayton Marcos, and he would send me a Christmas card every year, Chester Blanchard. And the other one was Curtis Bingo Lloyd, and Bingo Lloyd was around Dayton, and he would also engage with me. So those are two people that I was able to get lots of information related to Dayton from, especially Chester Blanchard. And I don't know who else interviewed Chester Blanchard besides myself, but I'm so proud of that. And you know, recently I was looking and calculating the years, and just imagine this. I think a couple of times I said that this was my 42nd year doing Negro League Baseball, but I started back in 1980 when I met Mr. Mothel. So this is actually my 46th year. So if I said 42 along the ways, guys, that was wrong. I can't count. It was 46. And so I'm in my 46th year, guy. And glory be to God. I hope that I can celebrate that 50th year of being a black baseball historian. And I'm probably going to publish the greatest book that I ever have released in that 50th year. So I'm just praying. I have good health now, so I'm just praying that it continues, right? So I do want to thank everybody for joining me today. I'm running way over my time because, you know, the longer you run, most people are not going to stay with this broadcast. You know that, don't you? That those people's attention span is very short. And so if you can keep them for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 3 minutes sometimes, 1 minute, you've achieved something. So I do want to thank everybody who stayed with me for as long as you have today. Certainly appreciate you, and continue to follow me. And I'm going to keep bringing, you know, unique information. And now I'm getting ready to get off now, but I'm going to come back and do this live that I've been working on, and it's gonna be a video, and I'm going to release that, and that's going to be about Edgar Blue Washington, and it's probably be like maybe a 3 to 5 minute video, and I will probably release that after I finish my trumpet rehearsal. Let me see if I can answer one more question, and I am out of here. Back in those days, the best athletes in the country played baseball. That is absolutely correct. Or how about this? Or boxed. And the reason for that was pretty simple. The game of basketball was just developing, even though a lot of Negro League baseball players play basketball, as you can tell from some of my broadcasts. But there was certainly a lot of boxers. And the reason I want to do Edgar Blue Washington, because I think he is the winningest boxer of all the multi-sport baseball players. And so I challenge someone to make me wrong, because I'm still learning. But I'm going to teach you something about Edgar Blue Washington tonight. All right. So be sure to pick that one up. You know, if you can't sleep tonight, bounce on over there. I'll try to upload it probably about 9:30. I'm going to practice a short trumpet rehearsal tonight. So, but anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me, and I appreciate all your support as always. If you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and subscribe. We just passed 600 subscribers, so now we're getting ready to push for 700. 700 subscribers, guys, man, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited when we got to 100 and 200 and 300 and 400, 500, 600, and you know I'm going to be excited when we get to 700. And to help us get there, I'm going to do some more on-location lives. It seemed like people really enjoyed that. So had lots of views on that. So thank you, guys. I mean, once again, I know people's attention span is short. So That is it. So somebody said, Luke said he subscribed. Hey, thanks you a lot, Luke. I appreciate it. Lou. I'm sorry, Lou. I'm saying your name wrong. But it looks like you're a baseball guy, and that's the kind of people I love because they challenge me to go and research, right? And I appreciate that. I'm going to look up this thing on Bill Withers, too. All right. So thank you, guys. You have a nice day, and we will get together real soon. Tomorrow is my plan. All right. So you have a nice day.